All right, welcome to episode 9 of the Hypothetically Speaking podcast. We put the hype in every hypothetical scenario. I am rejoined by Sam Moldenhauer, CJ Russo, and Logan Bell to talk about the NFL. Fellas, how are y'all doing?
Fantastic.
Doing good.
Happy to be here.
And I love to hear that. Well, we're going to dive into some NFL talk per usual with some recent news. I'm glad I have some Falcons fans on here with me. Julio Jones signed with the Bucks, clearly ring chasing. It's starting to get to the point of where Tom Brady's like LeBron in the NFL, where he just has all the old guys that are going to play in the Hall of Fame just kind of cycling through, playing with him, trying to win one last ring. Sam, are we worried at all? Actually, we'll do this first since you guys are Falcons fans. Sam, tell me how you feel about Julio Jones being in the division with the Falcons now.
I think it's good. I think it's good content. I like he talked about in his interview. CJ talked about this before we even started. Like he just said like I'm not really interested in that being like a narrative or a talking point. Like I'm not in it just to play a couple games against them in a season. Like he joined the Bucks because most likely he's trying to win a ring, which is fair. He played in Atlanta his whole career where we can't amount to anything. I'm happy for him. He was the best wide receiver we've probably ever had, and hopefully we'll have better ones in the future. But for now, he's the best one we've ever had, and I appreciated his time here, and hopefully he gets his ring.
And you mentioned better ones in the future. I'm assuming you're talking about Drake London, but CJ, we're here for your reaction. We want to hear how you feel. You and Logan, really. I know you guys are less rational fans than Sam, so I want to hear how you feel about Julio being in the division.
Yeah, Sam stole my talking point a little bit, but he's right. That interview, it just looks like Julio does not care about us anymore, and man, that hurts. I was the biggest Julio Jones fan when he was in Atlanta, and it was so sad to see him go. Even when I heard all about how he had become a little toxic over his last year or two in the locker room and things went south and everything, it's all upsetting to hear because I loved Julio. If I see him win a ring, part of me will be happy, but part of me just doesn't want to play him twice a year now, especially when he went to join Brady, who beat us down in that Super Bowl when Julio was on the team. It just all stinks so bad. And like I told you guys a minute ago, I am just even more behind Matt Ryan and the Colts winning the Super Bowl this year. And hopefully they get to beat the Bucks in the Super Bowl.
That would be probably the most upsetting scenario for Falcons. Probably most Falcons fans getting to see Matt Ryan versus Julio Jones in a Super Bowl. But Logan, how are you feeling about a guy being in your division that was incredible for your team, but has done literally nothing in the 1 year, I guess, since he left?
Yeah, it's weird. I personally couldn't care less that he's in the division. I don't even. We're so bad. Like that has no effect on me. It just sucks that he's playing with Brady. That's the biggest thing for me. Like I don't care about seeing him twice a year. No matter who you put on that team, we're losing to him both times. But it'd just be weird seeing him play with Brady. So I would be happy if he won a ring. He deserved one. He was definitely a different player for the franchise the last few years since that Super Bowl. But I also don't really blame him. There's no way you could have told me to like get picked back up and motivated for how that whole Super Bowl meltdown was handled and stuff like that. So I get it. But yeah, I'd be happy if he won a ring. I don't think he will. I don't think the Bucks will be making it to the Super Bowl at all. But it definitely would be fun if he ended up playing the Colts for sure.
And maybe that just kind of helps the Falcons add to the loss column as
True.
they fight
That's
for the
That's what we
101.
need. That is what we need.
That is the goal.
But I saw on ESPN's depth chart, I don't know about other depth charts, but ESPN says that Julio Jones is wide receiver 4 behind Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, obviously, and Russell Gage. CJ, I kind of want to hear your thoughts first. Do you think, we think he's going to move up, right? Or do we think he stays there? Is this just entirely disrespectful to list him there?
It's not entirely disrespectful based on what we've seen since he left the Falcons. A lot of that has to do with injury. And a lot of reports came out that in training camp before the season last year, he kind of, in his last few years with the Falcons, he didn't participate in OTAs, things like that, like a lot of veterans don't need to. But apparently when he switched to the Titans, he kind of assumed same thing. Like, I'm a vet. I've been doing this for years. I've been the best in the game. I don't need to participate quite as much as some of the younger guys do. So he was nursing injury, not participating quite as much in training camp. And clearly that hurt him. Didn't have success with the Titans at all. Wound up getting cut. I think it's a little bit of a wake-up call. And if he can stay healthy, I think we see him wake back up a little bit, especially as he pursues a ring. So I think there's a chance he moves up the depth chart. But if he continues to be the Julio we've seen since he departed Atlanta, wide receiver 4 is not disrespectful. That's where he belongs, no matter who he was in the past.
And if you read between the lines of the Matt Ryan #1 fans, what he kind of said, he's basically saying Julio Jones has done nothing without Matt Ryan. Logan, do you think he has a chance to get back anywhere close to the Julio Jones we saw for the most of the 2010s?
That might be a bit of a stretch. I think he's going to have a better year than he had last year with the Titans. I do think it's a little disrespectful to have him wide receiver 4. I mean, I definitely understand the injuries and what happened the past couple of years, but I also watched enough Falcons football games to understand what Russell Gage is going to bring to that team. And I do think Julio Jones will be wide receiver 3 for that team for sure if he can stay healthy. He won't be anywhere near what he was in his prime, but I think Brady will be able to get a little bit more out of him. And I think there's going to be a clear motivation, like win a ring, retire kind of mindset. So I could definitely see him kind of going all out for 17 more weeks. But I would take 30% Julio Jones over Russell Gage for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely trying to fight for a ring, joining a pretty stacked wide receiver core. Sam, do you see this kind of playing out like how Antonio Brown was with the Bucs and Tom Brady, minus probably him just kind of exiting in the middle of a game and taking off his jersey?
Not as much, because I don't think Julio Jones is the kind of receiver that Antonio Brown is. Julio Jones, I mean, like I said, he's just a different wide receiver than AB was. But I do think, as we know, being around Tom Brady kind of drives that work ethic and that striving for excellence at all times. So I'm not too worried that, Julio Jones in the past might have skipped out on some practices or some workouts, OTAs, whatever it might have been, because he's an older veteran. He's been through the game before. Like, I'm not too worried about that. Also, if anybody has had him on their fantasy teams for a substantial amount of time in the past, everybody knows he plays on Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after the practice, he's always a limited participant. He's always nursing some kind of hamstring, quad, some kind of lower leg injury. He's been doing that for the second half of his career, really. So I think it's fair to have him at the wide receiver 4 on the depth chart. I typically look at our lads for depth charts. They have Mike Evans as the left wide receiver, Chris Godwin in the slot, Julio Jones on the right, and they have Russell Gage backing up Chris Godwin in the slot. So our lads has him in the starting lineup, but I just don't see why they would. Like, they paid Russell Gage to come in. They didn't pay him a whole lot of money. They paid him wide receiver 3 money, which is what he should be. And he's a good fit for that offense, a good slot wide receiver. But I mean, yeah, Julio's probably going to catch like 30 to 40 balls this season. I think they'll make the playoffs because they're in the NFC South. So I think it's a good landing spot for Julio. I know CJ was a little upset about it, but I mean, I have no ill will towards him. He knows the Falcons are bad. Everybody knows the Falcons are bad. So why are we stressing out over what he has to say? Let's just go and chase that 101.
Yeah. And I think I kind of said this a little bit earlier, but maybe that was Julio's plan all along, was to help the Falcons lose, to help them get a better draft pick. Maybe he's always had Atlanta's best interests at heart, but you heard it from Sam here first. Count out Jameis Winston, the Saints, book it. Bucs are winning the division. I'm sure everyone agrees with me, so it's probably not as dramatic as I'm making it seem. But staying in the NFC, but moving to the entire opposite side of the country, Chris Carson retired yesterday after failing a physical because of neck injury that he dealt with recently, I guess last season. Sad to see a Gwinnett County alum from Parkview High School retire so early with a career cut so short after a solid 5 years. But Logan, with Chris Carson being gone from the Seahawks now, it's Rashad Penny and it's Kenneth Walker. Which one do you see starting next season?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I see Penny starting. If I was the coach, I'd start Walker, but I think Penny's going to start for most of the year. And I think as we head into next year, you'll probably see Kenneth Walker start, I think. I think Penny's good, but they took him so high that I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up starting at some point. Penny also can never stay healthy. So I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that he's going to start all 17 games or however many they're playing now this year. But I think he's going to go into week one the starter for sure. And I think if he stays healthy, I could see the coaching staff kind of leading on him for most of the year. But I do think it's Kenneth's team next season.
And I think Logan's just trying to compare this to Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams and just really hoping that Javonte's RB1 this year, pretty much full time. He's hoping the same for Kenneth Walker next season.
He will be.
Sam, do you see that playing out the same way, or do you see it kind of being different this season?
I think they will play Rashad Penny as much as they can. They signed him to the 1 year, $5 million, and four of those $5 million is guaranteed. So they have every incentive to play him as much as they can, being that they only signed him for the 1 year. It's also their first round draft pick, so teams inherently want to show off their first round draft pick and show that they made a good choice. So I think they will. Plus, he also played extremely well over the last 5-6 games of the season last year. So I think Kenneth Walker will mix in along with DJ Dallas. I have seen reports that they're trying to use him on third downs. I don't know if Travis Homer is still there. I'd have to check the depth chart, but they typically mix in a lot of their backs into every game. So I could see anywhere from maybe 100 to 150 opportunities for Kenneth Walker this season. And then I think they probably did draft him knowing that Rashad Penny, this is last year. They'll just go ahead and let him walk and then have Kenneth Walker for the rest of the rebuild. As far as Chris Carson, yeah, it sucks as a person to see how much injury he's gone through, and now his body just can't take it anymore. But I mean, honestly, some people found the news shocking. I wasn't too shocked. Maybe just a complete retirement was a little bit of a shock, but I mean, the guy has just been hurt nearly half of his career, if not more. Solid player as a running back, but heading into this season, I wasn't like I didn't have any. I wasn't thinking at all about Chris Carson. Like, I didn't think he was going to play pretty much any part of this season. So it's not surprising that he's now officially not going to play. It is a little bit surprising that he just full on called it quits, but got to feel for the guy. He's had a rough career, but a little bit productive. So at least he got his money.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even when we talked about that backfield situation, I don't know if we talked about it on both, but we definitely did last podcast that was about the NFL. We didn't consider Chris Carson at all. We were just already kind of under the assumption that it was going to be between Penny and Walker. So, yeah, like Sam said, I don't think it was too surprising to see him retire, or I guess to not be back with Seattle. Maybe a little surprising for the retirement, like Sam said. But CJ, Seattle's going to be playing from behind a good bit, probably. So, and like Sam mentioned, mixing in a few different running backs helps keep Rashad Penny healthy, maybe. Who do you see kind of taking over the backfield this season?
Yeah, see, I think Rashad Penny gets the starting job. Obviously, I agree with Sam and Logan, but I think Kenneth Walker gets a little bit more play than I think they do. Seattle has dealt with a lot of injuries at running back, including Rashad Penny and obviously Chris Carson that we're talking about in the last several years. And I think they're tired of it. Sam was right. Travis Homer's still on the roster. They got DJ Dallas. Those are probably going to be the only backs that are active. They still have Josh Johnson and Darwin Thompson, but I don't see them making the roster. I think Rashad Penny will get most of the play time. Kenneth Walker will be kind of like close to the 1B. And we'll see DJ Dallas and Travis Homer in some of those third down situations or on long drives when they want to take Rashad Penny out of the game and rest him. But they don't want to deal with having to patchwork at RB anymore. So we're going to see a pretty heavy rotation, in my opinion. Kenneth Walker's going to get a lot of opportunity to prove himself. And Chris Carson was at best a question mark. So now that we for sure know that he's not going to be in the picture, I think this is even better news for Kenneth Walker going into year one.
Definitely better news. Definitely good news for fantasy managers. But the Seahawks probably, their fans probably don't care that much. They're probably still, like you Falcons fans, hoping for the 101 in next year's draft to get a highly coveted quarterback to make up for the loss of Russell Wilson. But now that we're through a bit of the recent NFL news, we're going to have some fun with a little offense draft. So we're going to go 6 rounds. We're going to create our own little offense, just kind of, I guess, assuming an average offensive line. So we're just going to draft some skill position players, a quarterback, a running back, 3 receivers, and a tight end. And this is for actual football, not fantasy, just to clarify for those listening. So yeah, we're going to go 6 rounds, snake draft with that. And we did a random order before we got on. So that gives Logan Bell the first pick in our draft. Logan, who are you taking to start your NFL franchise? Do you guys want to pick team names first, or do you guys just want to roll and just kind of go team, Logan?
Let's just roll it.
Cool. Okay, cool. I just thought of it. Cool. We don't have to have fun. All right, Logan, who are you starting team Logan with?
Team Logan will be taking Josh Allen at the 1-1.
Suck.
I figured it'd be
Sam. I hope you didn't think he was going to fall to the 4th pick.
I don't know, maybe. I had hopes.
I figured it'd be smart to go ahead and knock out the quarterback, and he's 26, best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. So that was one of the easiest draft picks I've ever made. Now, I wouldn't do that if it was fantasy. I would not be taking a QB 1-1, but real life, I'll take Allen.
Okay. Well, I think that's a phenomenal pick. I think you could probably go with a few different things, but CJ, would you have agreed with that pick, or would you have picked who you're going to pick here?
Oh, I absolutely agree with that pick. And I actually already had that written down for Logan's pick because I was so confident that he's an intelligent man that I knew Josh Allen would be gone at the first pick. But I'm going to back that up with, I think, the second best option that is a proven asset. Now hear that. And I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. I know that y'all might think I would go Jalen Hurts here because he's my MVP pick, but Patrick Mahomes has a longer track history. He's, just as talented as Josh Allen. I think that you can't really go wrong between the two of them. I think that losing Tyreek Hill is going to hurt a little bit, but I don't have to worry about that on the team that I'm building. I want Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's a very solid pick, CJ. I don't know if I expected the first 2 picks to go differently, but I was holding out hope, like Sam was, for Josh Allen falling to the 4th pick. But I'm going to follow you guys in taking a quarterback, and I'm going to take Justin Herbert, who is a young stud, has been phenomenal with the Chargers so far in his young career. He's only got room to grow at this point. Hopefully we'll get to see him on a playoff stage this season and get to see what he's really about. But I think that's pretty much the clear top 2 as far as quarterbacks. I think Herbert's the next best option. And I think I need to knock out quarterback because that's the most important position in football. But I guess I probably could have gone elsewhere because you guys aren't drafting 2 quarterbacks. Oh, well, we'll roll with Herbert. Sam, you have back-to-back picks.
Yeah, I actually didn't even think about that point that now everybody has quarterbacks. I could literally just wait on it.
You just made it easier for him, Noah.
Well,
yeah, I could just take
I could take another quarterback, play him at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Running back.
Roll Tom Brady out wide.
Yeah.
Lamar at running back wouldn't be too bad.
Now I'm kind of interested. I'm gonna go ahead and just draft 2 wide receivers then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
My first wide receiver that I am going to take. I'm just gonna go.
You
ahead
really
and take,
screwed that up, Noah. Sorry, Sam. Noah, what's that?
I'm gonna go ahead and take Cooper Kupp with the first wide receiver spot. The second wide receiver spot, I will take. I will take Jamar Chase. I think if I'm actually looking at this from a more strategic standpoint, more team building standpoint, I think Cooper Kupp brings this stability at the wide receiver position. I think he does a lot of the things that might not show up in the box score. Per PFF, he has an 80.9 run blocking grade, which was the 5th highest last year. Pretty much the number 1 spot of the names that you're going to recognize other than Robert Woods. 80.9 run blocking grade. So we know he has that part of his game to him. We also know he has the receiving part. As we all know, he got the Triple Crown last year. And then Jamar Chase, a young stud, can go stretch the field for me, learn the run blocking side of things from Cooper Kupp. And I think, yeah, that would be a top tier wide receiver core.
And then you'll definitely have the opportunity, of course, because of my honesty, to be able to pair them with a pretty elite quarterback whenever you want. So, but I'm going to, before everybody else kind of starts soaking up receivers, I'm going to go ahead and knock out my first receiver and take Justin Jefferson. I was kind of hoping that Sam took him so I could take Jamar Chase and have Justin Herbert throwing absolute bombs to Jamar Chase, but he'll have to throw him to Justin Jefferson, who has 3,000 receiving yards and 17 touchdowns through his first 2 seasons with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. So I would be stoked to see what he can do with Justin Herbert throwing him the ball. Yeah. And then obviously when we also add a nice stud running back and some other stud receivers to help open up the field, it's just a great thing for both Herbert and Justin Jefferson. But CJ, I'm going to slide it over to you with the next pick as far as who is Patrick Mahomes going to be either handing it off or throwing it to.
So Patrick Mahomes, to pair with his stud talent, has also been blessed with playing with a stud at tight end, a stud at wide receiver. But you know what he has not gotten a chance to play with? A true stud at running back. So I'm going to give him Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is going to take a Patrick Mahomes offense to the next level. Patty can sling it all around the field to whoever has hands to catch a football, but he has not had a truly reliable workhorse running back that he can trust on those short 3rd down plays, or when he just needs a couple of yards. He's had to do most of that himself. So give him Jonathan Taylor, give him some more options.
Just wild to think about what if Patrick Mahomes had Jonathan Taylor with him? Because I know it's not possible to have happened before. Like, he would have never had the opportunity to, I don't know, have the Chiefs draft Jonathan Taylor and have him be on his team. So quite the whiff by the Chiefs, taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire over 7 of the other running backs that could have been better. But definitely, I already had Christian McCaffrey typed in as soon as you said running back, because I definitely thought that's where you were going. But Logan, you have back-to-back picks on who you're going to pair or combine with Josh Allen in your offense.
Speaking of McCaffrey, are injuries on or off in this virtual world?
So they are on. Actually,
okay.
They are on. This is football.
Okay. I'll take that. Regardless, I'm not taking him. Anyways, I am going to be drafting my favorite wide receiver in the entire league, and I'll be taking CD Lamb. I think he has just been consistently underthrown his whole career, and that will not be an issue with Josh Allen. So I would be excited to see the two of them play together. If he could finally stretch the field. And then I get another pick, right, Snake?
You do, yes.
Kyle.
Third round reversal, actually.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Kidding.
I'll be taking Kyle Pitts. Go ahead and knock out the tight end. I think he's the best tight end in the league. It's obviously biased. I will fully recognize that. I would hear the argument on Kittle for sure. I almost took Kittle. I figured CJ might take Pitts there, but it's probably a little too early. But I'm going to rock with CD and Kyle Pitts, the next 2 selections.
Before we go, have any of you guys ever done a fantasy draft with a third round reversal?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's good about it? I've never done it. I've never thought about it.
I mean, basically, just like the team that has the 101, they kind of, not only do you get the best player, but like the 2-3 wrap pretty much consistently has some good players as well. So you're getting the 101, and you're getting some top tier players at 2 and 3.
Right.
So it kind of, and then the person who's picking 12th has 12 and 13. In this case, it's a 12-team league, but you have 12 and 13, and then you have to wait a pretty decent way. So it kind of balances out. I've only done it like a couple times, so I haven't really seen like the full like how fair is it, but I mean I'm down to try it. Not in this,
Sounds
but
lame.
right, in like normal drafts.
Sounds lame.
Wait, CJ, you said you've done it too. Do you agree? Do you like it?
I have only, like Sam, don't have a lot of experience. I have done exactly one league with a 3rd round reversal.
Okay.
I didn't like it any better than normal draft. I agree with everything that Sam said, pretty much. I was going to say the exact same thing.
Okay. I was just curious. I've seen the option on Sleeper, but I've never actually done it. So I was just curious. Just seems like you'd really be. I mean, I get it makes it probably a little bit more even, but I definitely want the 12th pick in that.
It's kind of for like the big brains.
Yeah, I don't. That's not what fantasy football is about. It's about fun and random guessing. CJ, you have quite the offense so far. Who are you taking with your 3rd pick?
Well, I want to say that my last pick was exactly 1 pick too early for Kyle Pitts, Logan, and I am so upset that you took him away from me because I had his name typed in for my next pick because I figured you would go receiver, but you proved me wrong, and I don't.
I did take
it.
2 receivers. They're both our receivers.
Okay.
You could say that. So I'm going to pivot, and do you know who I know for a fact works very well with Patrick Mahomes? Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has had
Hardman.
Tyreek Hill has had a ton of success in a Patrick Mahomes-led offense. He stretches the field like no one else, and I don't have to worry about the chemistry. It's there. I know it's going to be successful.
He's not the most accurate quarterback he's ever played with.
Yeah, that's actually not a good look for you, CJ.
Yeah, bad pick, CJ. Bad pick.
Man, if you were doing that, you should have just gone with Tua.
You're right.
Man, that's kind of crazy to think. Okay, so with my pick, I'm going to add to my wide receiver core because, I mean, you guys probably could have guessed this one knowing me. I'm going to add A.J. Brown to my receiving core. And this, I mean, he's my favorite non-Jet in the NFL. And I would like having Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown out wide would be the best receiving core that probably anybody has ever played with, but definitely that Justin Herbert has played with. 2 just young studs. A.J. Brown is an absolute animal. Just a scary man. And I mean, of course, you're kind of hoping he stays healthy because I know he's kind of dealt with some issues with that, but it would also be the best quarterback he's played with, as he's been phenomenal with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. We know, I mean, Logan, where does Ryan Tannehill rank among legit starting quarterbacks?
Bottom 3. Jimmy G, Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff. Bottom 3 in the league.
And just to clarify, so Logan doesn't get, so nobody slanders him entirely. That doesn't include fake starting quarterbacks like Marcus Mariota or Drew Lock. So it's just like legit, like deserving of a starting job, but bad. Correct?
Yes, besides Goff. He doesn't deserve a starting job.
Okay. Well, Sam, you have back-to-back picks now.
All right. So Logan and CJ both need 2 more wide receivers. I only need 1 more, so I'm going to go ahead and take my 3rd and final wide receiver just so I can make sure I have him. I'm going to take probably the most versatile wide receiver in the NFL. I'm going to take Deebo Samuel. At this point, I have Cooper Kupp, who is, like I talked about with his run blocking grade, he's a top tier run blocker. Jamar Chase, great field stretcher, great all around wide receiver. And then Deebo can put him in the slot, can put him out wide, can put him in motion, put him in the backfield. I can really do whatever I want with him. And having that as my 3rd wide receiver as just another offensive weapon just kind of really completes this wide receiver core.
I was going to actually put him as my running back, so that sucks.
I'm actually going to put him at every position I have. My second pick, I am going to take PFF's number 1 graded tight end last year in Mark Andrews. I think at this point I've created an unstoppable offense with Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, and Mark Andrews. I mean, yeah, I think after once Travis Kelce starts hitting his decline, who knows when that will be, and assuming Mark Andrews continues to stay on this path of just elite play, I've really just locked in a top tier, if not the top tier tight end in the NFL. So I'm really loving my team right now, especially because I didn't go quarterback in the first round.
Thanks, Noah.
Shout out. Cool. Sam, is there any personal bias with Mark Andrews? Has he done anything for you or say your bank account?
Yeah, he helped me win about like $400 in a 32-man league. It was pretty sick because I also have Trevor Lawrence on that team. And one of the comments in that league was, I think this is the first team I've ever seen win the championship with Trevor Lawrence on the team, which is probably true. But I'm very, very grateful for Mark Andrews. So
yeah.
Hashtag no bias.
Well, hopefully he gets to help you out in our new league as well. Cool. So I have the next pick. I am going to go ahead and complete my receiving core since there's no point in trying to decide between Kittle and Kelce at this point. I will just kind of let CJ pick one and then I will take the other. I'm going to take DK Metcalf, and yeah, he is like AJ Brown, an absolute beast, is going to be reunited with his college teammate. Now that I'm thinking about it, I wish I took Elijah Moore instead of Justin Jefferson, and just went Matt Corral at quarterback. But obviously, DK and AJ Brown are more deserving of being on this team, and having, DK was most successful and just very successful with Russell Wilson throwing the ball deep to him, one of the best deep ball passers in the NFL. But Justin Herbert can, I don't know about be just as accurate, but has quite the cannon to get the ball to him. And with both Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown on the field, DK should be getting plenty of deep balls. And yeah, I mean, I don't even need to draft a running back at this point because we're not running we are not running the football ever. But CJ, we'll go ahead and move to you.
So I can hear the viewers yelling at us right now for the huge mistake that has taken place so far, and I'm going to take advantage of it. And I'm going to take the best wide receiver in the NFL here in the fourth round and add him to the fantastic offense that I've already built, Davante Adams. I mean, you don't have to explain the pick, and we've all seen his production over the last several years. Pair him with another elite QB, Patrick Mahomes, and I mean, this offense is going wild with Tyreek Hill and Davante Adams.
Yeah, no, that's a very good pick. I thought about taking him instead of DK, but like we've kind of said, the youth guy, I'm the dynasty, I'm shocked I didn't go all rookies, but Davante Adams being 29 just kind of made me, I don't know, it just didn't feel right having him on my team. But Logan, you have back-to-back picks and you have one wide receiver and 0 running backs. And so you got to fill that up.
I do. I am pretty confident that these 2 picks will make this the best offense in the league. To start, I'm going to just go back to the old teammates. And I have Josh Allen, so I might as well get Stephon Diggs and add him in as my wide receiver too. Not much to say there. Obviously, we all know what Diggs can do. And he already knows Josh Allen, so that's a big pro. And then for running back, I think it's already pretty scary to have Josh Allen on the team with how much he can run and how mobile he is. But I'm going to add Derrick Henry to that team and put him in the backfield and have Josh Allen and Derrick Henry back there. So you already had a pretty good offense in Buffalo with just Josh Allen and Diggs. So imagine adding Derrick Henry, CeeDee Lamb, and Kyle Pitts to that. I think that makes that a pretty good offense now. And I still get one more pick.
Josh Norman is crapping his pants.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that is a pretty good QB running back duo right there.
Except, I mean, honestly, I'm just a little disappointed. I thought you were on the anti-running back wave, but
Debo was gonna be my running back for a little bit.
True. But then also just Josh Allen's not used to handing the ball off. Are you sure he can do that? Okay.
I don't know if we'll have to. I mean, Might be the most pointless year Derrick Henry ever has, but I think he could learn.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, fair. I mean, it'll definitely be good for his longevity. So we'll see. Maybe he just only gets goal line touches. CJ, you haven't picked a tight end, and you have another spot for a wide receiver. Who you got?
Well, you know what? I am gonna go tight end, and I'm just gonna throw Travis Kelce in there with Patrick Mahomes. Like Sam said, we don't know when he's gonna start declining. He's in his 30s, so we may see it soon, but it hasn't started happening yet. He is still absolutely elite. I mean, he's the example that you want at the tight end position. He already knows Mahomes, basically building the Chiefs offense right now with a few additions. And I'm not mad about it. I mean, the Chiefs have had a fantastic offense. Travis Kelce is, in my opinion, second best option you can have at the tight end position. I would obviously prefer Kyle Pitts. I like the youth and the ability, but cannot go wrong with Travis Kelce.
That's very fair. I just, like you said, you're rebuilding the Chiefs offense, which is absolutely insane that this is just a fantasy rebuild of the top at each position. And it's an offense that not only the Chiefs had, but could have had, adding in Jonathan Taylor had they just not drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I remember just my mind was blown when they drafted Edwards-Helaire. I didn't think I think there was a number of guys that should have gone before him, but Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift were just obvious ones to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, bravo. Okay, so your team now is now the Kansas City Chiefs. Sorry.
Yep.
RIP Team CJ. But we have Team Sam, Team Noah, Team Logan, and the Kansas City Chiefs competing here. I'm going to go ahead and take my running back because CJ left me with George Kittle to take next round. I just want you guys to know that I just took a long thought about taking Breece Hall. I really thought about it. I just like the fresh legs, just fresh legs and a beast. But I'm not going to do it just in case because he is on the Jets. I'm going to take Alvin Kamara, who is one of the best receiving backs in the league and stays healthier than Christian McCaffrey. So, I mean, he was phenomenal with Drew Brees and then was still good again last season. I think Justin Herbert's kind of already played with a guy like Austin Eckler, who's a really good receiving back. So having somebody that we can kind of dump the ball off to, because we're probably, like I said, not going to run the ball, but having Alvin Kamara there for the rack yards, it's going to be a very stellar offense. But Sam, you have your last two picks.
Yeah, this one I've been I don't know. I want to make an interesting pick here at running back because, for the wide receivers, it's kind of just a who's who of who we've been taking. All of them are top tier. Everybody knows that. Even the running backs, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, have already been picked. I kind of want to go a little bit off the grid. Not completely though. He's still a good player. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go with A.J. Dillon at the running back position. I think he has the potential to be a mini Derrick Henry. And at this point, I have Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, and Mark Andrews. It would be nice to have another receiving threat out of the backfield, but it's not the most necessary. If I'm going to have a running game, I would prefer to have a top tier runner of the football. Obviously, he has lapses in his game with maybe some of the blocking and receiving, but as far as rushing the football, he's shown to be pretty darn good at that. Last year, he was the fourth highest rusher ranked among PFF. So A.J. Dillon will slide into my running backs. And now my quarterback.
Before you make that pick, based on Sam's draft and no information at all other than that, Sam believes that quarterback is the least valuable position and would rather have A.J. Dillon over an established quarterback. I think that's insane.
True.
That's an excellent
wild
point. You clearly just love A.J. Dillon. Sam, he's available for 2 firsts. Right, Logan?
He is. Hey,
Okay,
he
cool.
is very available for 2 firsts. Very available.
What was the Leonard Fournette quote? They wouldn't have that same energy if.
See you September 11th. Sam, what are you trying to say?
Week 1, baby. We'll see how it plays out. Quarterback though. I mean, you guys just left me with so many elite options at quarterback. It's not even really fair, especially with the team that I've already made.
14 league helps that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will also say that all of my picks were elite players.
I'm gonna go with Joe Burrow. I think he is on his way to, like I talked about in a couple episodes ago. I think Joe Burrow is one good season away from being put in the conversation of top 4, top 5 QBs in the league. I think he already has elite pocket presence. I think his decision making is top tier. Mobility, I'm not really too concerned about, especially with how the offense that I've built is constructed. There was another point I was going to make. His arm strength isn't top tier like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert. I think that's well known. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the NFL, but I mean, we saw it with Jamar Chase last year, even with T. Higgins with some bombs. Like, he can put it up there. And if he's throwing to Jamar Chase or Cooper Kupp, like, I'm not too concerned with them not coming down with it.
Yeah. So after the spicy AJ Dillon pick, which I love, Sam's proven once again that he's a huge Grant Hill fan by taking both Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Sounds like you're a little sad that he's not back here on the podcast again.
I am all in on what the Bengals are building in that 32-man league that I referenced earlier, where I won that championship. We model ourselves off NFL, and my team is the Cincinnati Bengals. So I really like Joe Burrow. Outside of other people in my life that like him, I like him as well.
Well, CJ, you'll be glad to know that I'm in that league, and my team is the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you're interested, no, but oh yeah, I still have to make this pick. I'm going to take George Kittle because I need a tight end, and there's a clear top 4 tight ends in the NFL. You could probably put Darren Waller up in consideration, but I just think that George Kittle's far and away a better talent, and just is going to just be another threat that can both, make plays after he catches the ball, but do a good job of getting open. Also a good blocker, I think. Yeah, my offense is pretty set at this point with a lot of different weapons for Joe Burrow to get the ball to.
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, just sorry, Sam.
Man,
I'm not trying to.
You just want to be like me so much, man.
I'm actually, yeah, you're right, Sam. But yeah, that actually really threw me off. I thought I had another point to make, but yeah, a lot of targets. Oh, a lot of targets for Justin Herbert to get the ball to. And if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't really played with an elite tight end before. I don't think the Chargers, since he's been there, have had a even good tight end. If I'm not mistaken,
hey, Jared Cook's not bad.
Yeah.
Jared Cook's
Hunter Henry was injured, but
33-year-old Jared Cook.
Okay, yeah, I think did he have Hunter Henry as a rookie? I think
he was injured.
Okay, so George Kittle probably will be too. So it'll just kind of fit the theme. Herbert's used to it.
Is that all your picks?
That is all of my picks.
Who is your running back?
My running back is Alvin Kamara.
That's right.
CJ, you have to take a wide receiver here.
Yep. So I've got Devontae, who is going to be great for me on the outside. Tyreek Hill can go in the slot or play outside, stretch the field. He's just crazy. I'm going to take another big body that I think is going to take a huge step this year, and I'm going to put Michael Pittman out there. And I hope Grant listens to this podcast.
He's not going to do that, but that was I don't know. He's kind of a meh receiver. So, but
he could have somewhere over like
I will fight you, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, playing with Patrick Mahomes, I don't know. If he's playing with Matt Ryan, I think that would really elevate his play, though.
1,300 yards easy with Matt Ryan, but that's just an okay season.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be able to do that with Patrick Mahomes and splitting touches with Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, but maybe. But
I mean,
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is throwing for 7,000 yards in this offense, so there's plenty to go around.
Yeah, I mean, RIP defenses, but if there's only 4 teams, those defenses might be a little bit better. So maybe we'll do that next time if we
That would be fun.
we'll probably need 2 weeks of prep work for that though to actually give you guys
I'm ready to go, man.
Okay, I'll
easy.
need 2 weeks of prep work to actually give you guys a legit defensive draft.
Even
but
offensive lineman, defensive lineman, like let's get it going.
yeah, I mean, maybe next week we just do offensive line and I have Mitch come in and draft for me. Because that's probably going to be a lot better. Logan, you have to get your last wide receiver.
I do. So I have Diggs, who obviously has the connection with Josh Allen there. CD can pretty much do everything. So I think I'm going to go with Mr. Consistent, kind of can do everything, Mike Evans with my last pick. I think he'd fit into that offense well. Dude's just always consistent every single year. And like I said, he can kind of do everything. You can send him deep. He can throw him in the slot if you wanted to. He's getting up there in age, but I mean, if I'm trying to win the Super Bowl this year, he'll be fine because that's literally what he's trying to do in real life. So, yeah, Mike Evans with the Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, wow.
He's only what, like 27? Or is he older than that?
He
30?
28 max.
My guess
28
is
max.
29.
He's
29.
28. He turns 29 in August. So yeah, he is a little older than I
Yeah,
thought.
I knew it was coming up. I had to set a
That's
reminder
not
on my
that
phone
old,
to
though, I
text him.
guess.
You know what might be interesting? I would like to hear from everybody, if you can't pick your own team, whose team do you like the most?
Yeah, I would be interested in that too.
Sorry, Noah, to steal your
No, bro,
hosting.
I love it. Sam, why don't you start us then?
Whose team would I rather have?
Yeah.
I mean, as much success as the Kansas City Chiefs have had, I'm not going to pick CJ's team. I am partial to Josh Allen, of course. I think Josh Allen and the Stephon Diggs connection is good. I think the wide receiver core for Logan is obviously good. It's full of talent, but I think there might not be the full diversity that I'm looking for. So I would have to go with Noah. Obviously, I like Justin Herbert. I think he's just like in the similar tier as Joe Burrow. I think a good season he could have. He could be in the conversation of one of the top QBs in the league. Justin Jefferson's a good field stretcher. He even play the intermediate game, DK as well. AJ Brown can kind of be used all over the field. George Kittle's a huge yak guy, which I love. And Alvin Kamara is a great receiving threat out of the backfield. He's also a top tier runner, maybe not at this point of his career, but he's still a very good running back. So I think of these teams, I would like Noah's the best.
Sweet. Thanks, man. Means the world. Logan, I forgot to say this. When I knew you needed wide receiver, I started typing in Jalen Waddle and was kind of disappointed to have to hit backspace. But
that would have been the fantasy move, not the real life move.
That's fair. But I don't know if you guys all have it written down, but I can read off everybody's team unless everybody has it written down.
I have it typed down.
Perfect. Well, then I guess for listeners, I can read them out. Excuse me. Team Logan is Josh Allen at quarterback, Derrick Henry at running back, CD Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans at receiver, and his tight end is Kyle Pitts. But I guess you could also call him a wide receiver if Logan wants him to. The Kansas City Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, and Travis Kelce. Team Noah has Justin Herbert, Alvin Kamara, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, and George Kittle. And then Team Sam is Joe Burrow, AJ Dillon, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, and Mark Andrews. CJ, I'll go ahead and ask the Kansas City Chiefs if they could have a regular team name, what team they would choose.
If I had to pick somebody else's?
Yes.
Okay. I think Sam's team is a real running back away from being my choice.
Oh,
I think AJ Dillon is solid, but I think with only being 4 teams in the league, there are a lot of better options there, in my opinion.
That's why I went off the grid. I kind of, like I said, I was kind of like, the wide receivers are who's who. Same with tight end, same with quarterback. So I wanted to mix in a little bit of variety.
Honestly, if Sam had gone someone like CMC, despite the injury, I believe in him a lot. I'd probably be picking Sam's team, but I'm going to go Noah's team for every reason that Sam listed out. I am a huge Justin Herbert believer. I love his talent. And you got receivers to play every position. A huge threat at tight end in George Kittle. If he can stay healthy, he's a monster. Huge yak guy, like Sam said. Takes 6 people to tackle him, and in the NFL, that's ridiculous. And Alvin Kamara, proven runner, great receiving back. I mean, 3 years in a row, 81 receptions. We know he can catch the football. Well-rounded offense.
Are you concerned with any off the field issues with your team?
We weren't going to run the football anyway, so if Alvin Kamara is suspended for 6 games, we're not too worried. But I would like to attribute a little bit of my success to the fact that Sam said, I want to, kind of spice things up a little bit, and took AJ Dillon. Had I not only had tight end left, had I had running back or wide receiver, I probably would have gone with a really spicy pick after realizing how kind of vanilla this was. So thank you for doing that after I kind of already had my pick made for me, because I would have taken Jets and you guys would not be saying Team Noah.
No.
But also, you bring up a good point, DJ. I am just shocked that Christian McCaffrey wasn't taken.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, if I didn't want to make a spicy pick, I would have definitely gone with CMC.
Fair.
He obviously probably the best receiving threat out of the backfield in the NFL. He is a really good rusher of the football. Obviously, there's better players in that aspect, but he makes up for it leaps and bounds in his receiving game. And to add a receiver like CMC to the God squads that we built, I would have liked to, but I'm more of the I lean more of the spicier pick. So I'm very happy I have AJ Dillon on the team.
The only reason I didn't take CMC is because of the injury issues. If he was healthy, I'm taking him over Jonathan Taylor every time.
Yeah. Well, you guys heard it here first. Sam Moldenhauer is a loose cannon. Logan, whose team would you pick if it couldn't be Team Logan?
Yes, I also would like to add quick that I think we should put our teams in a poll in 2-owner and let everybody vote. See what the people think.
I'm down to put it on Twitter and have 8 people tell us what they
Let's
think.
Go. That's probably how
that
many
works
we'd
too.
get in the group me anyway.
That's fair.
Probably true. If I couldn't pick my team, I think the answer is pretty clear. I would be taking the Chiefs. It's the only quarterback in these 4 teams to win a Super Bowl, and it is the best running back in the league, and Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion. So I don't really care about the rest of the team. If you've got the best running back in the league and a proven winner, I'm sold.
Thank you, Logan.
Team,
hey,
you are pro running back. Interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Okay.
It's more so pro. It's more so Patty and Jonathan. I mean, it's more so Patty, but yeah, Taylor's also the best running back in the league.
Huge difference maker.
Are you saying like you'd rather have the elite running back than the elite wide receiver? Is that your take, or am I mishearing that?
Not necessarily. I mean, you can look back at all the Super Bowl winners, and it's not like a running back has carried them. I just strictly like the idea of Jonathan Taylor and Patrick Mahomes. Like if Patrick Mahomes had a running back, that would be horrifying. I guess is more so what I'm saying. But like if I'm like the general manager of the Falcons, I care about my receivers way more than running backs. It's pretty specifically just Patty playing with a running back finally would be crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well,
but my team's still better. But
man, I was about to pick Team Logan, but
no,
I think I will actually have to go with Team Logan. Sorry, Sam. Honestly,
appreciate it.
Like CJ said,
the
AJ. So it sounds like you just want to get him off your team. So Logan, we don't have to bother offering him 2 first. I don't think you want some.
True.
But I think Josh Allen, I would have definitely taken him 1-1 or at least 1-2. Derrick Henry, when healthy, is a team carrier. Like they can just kind of. Josh Allen doesn't have to put up elite stats during the regular season. He can honestly rest a little bit, save his body a little bit, and just let Derrick Henry kind of carry them to 11-6. And then CeeDee Lamb, like Logan said, kind of hasn't been utilized to his talents in Dallas yet. Maybe that'll happen this season with Amari Cooper gone. Stephon Diggs already has a connection with Josh Allen. Mike Evans is one of the best receivers in the league and has been for a while. I think he just kind of gets written off because of some of the stats that other guys put up. And then Kyle Pitts, like if he wasn't in the offense that he's in, with poor Matt Ryan getting hit 12 times a game last season and now playing with Marcus Mariota, I think that Kyle Pitts could ascend a lot quicker. Like Logan said, he's the best tight end in the NFL, and I don't think he's proven that. And if he was in a better offense like this one, then he would have a chance to. And it's basically another receiver out there. So, yeah, Sam, I think if you didn't take AJ Dillon, that I wouldn't have said anything I just said and probably would have taken Team Sam. But I like AJ Dillon.
I'm surprised you pay for being spicy.
Let's run it back.
Bro.
The entire thing. Just with a third round reversal, and we'll flip the order.
I'll trade you 2 future firsts for the 101.
It's not bad. All right. Well, we have our roster set. We have our draft set. Maybe we make a little 14 fantasy league with 6 roster spots and just kind of see how it plays out. I don't know. Maybe
That
I was
would
thinking
be
the exact same thing.
Okay.
That
cool.
would be fun.
Sleeper would let us do it. So
I did that like a 2v or a me versus Jake Smith, and we literally just had like all God squads, and we just played it at like as a best ball because there's no platform that'll let you do a 2-man league. So we just did best ball. We forgot about it, and then we're just like, it's the end of the season. We're like, oh yeah, let's check out the stats.
yeah,
So
That would be
was
fun. What do we
fun.
do for what do we do for a bye week or an injury?
It's just best ball. So you pick more players than this. So
Okay, I know. Saying would we just start with these 6 and just have like an extra couple rounds?
I wasn't saying like we like do this like right now with these teams, but
That's
It's
what
not
I'm
the
saying.
power
Not right
issue.
Not right
essentially,
now, but with these teams, yeah. that'd be
yeah.
fun.
No, I mean for bye weeks, you just can't have someone start because everybody's gonna have one bye week. So should be fine.
That's fair. That's
Okay,
true.
cool. Logan and I actually have a just us fantasy league, and we tried to do it through a spreadsheet last season. But Logan never set his lineup. So
Forgot.
we
I always forgot.
we DM'd Sleeper this off season, and they told Logan that they'd get back to him about it, and they told me just create a 4-team league and set the 2 CPU teams with like guys that are in the app that don't play in the NFL anymore, set their full roster with that, and then you guys just draft, and you can like manually set it in the draft. So if you're interested in doing a 2-team league just to prove that you're better at fantasy, Logan, I still need to get my jersey from last season.
I need my jersey from you, Cole, and
And
Connor.
Okay.
I would
Cool.
like to go ahead and announce that the next episode of the Hypothetically Speaking podcast, in regards to the NFL, will be an hour-long session of why Sleeper is the best dynasty app out there.
Awesome.
Man.
So CJ, you can do that, but I don't know if that'll be on the Hypothetically Speaking podcast. But we may be able to save like a little 5-minute segment for you because I think it's a worthy cause.
CJ's 5.
Yeah.
It's
Wait,
called
what?
CJ's. I said,
Yeah.
I said just CJ's 5 at the last 5 minutes of the.
Yeah.
I'll rant at the
podcast.
end of every podcast. I'll do it. I'll find things to talk about.
Perfect. Well, okay. So we were going to do a few little hypotheticals about who would you would take for next season. But I think we kind of had some of them answered with our draft. So for Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen, would anybody take Patrick Mahomes, or is everybody team Josh Allen?
It's Josh Allen by a hair.
Okay.
Barely, but yeah,
So this
barely.
is this just for like next year or?
Just for next season, yes.
Yeah, I would take Josh Allen. I think it's like they said. I think it's close, but I think Josh Allen is in a better situation. Obviously, I'm not going to bet against the Chiefs, but losing Tyreek Hill inevitably gives the edge to Josh Allen.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. So we don't have to go into that too much. So the next one is Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. I mean, I'm quite clearly team Justin Herbert. Is anybody team Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
Yep.
You are?
Mhm.
Okay. You want to tell me why?
Again, it's by a hair. I mean, I think it's a similar margin to Mahomes and Allen. But I mean, last year, despite having the worst O-line in the NFL, Joe Burrow had the highest on-target percentage. Now, Justin Herbert was third in the NFL in on-target percentage. They were at 83% and 80%, so they're pretty close. Burrow also had the lowest bad throw percentage at 10.7%. Herbert was sixth with 14.6%. But Burrow was doing all of this while seeing pressure on 25% of his dropbacks. I mean, 1 in 4 plays, he was getting hit, he was getting hurried, he was getting sacked. You cannot understate how bad that O-line was and what that does to a quarterback psychologically, especially if that's happening for an entire season. And for a guy as young as Joe Burrow to have the sustained success that he did with an O-line problem and coming off a serious injury, a lot of guys are going to get scared. A lot of guys are going to start running away from the pressure because they don't want to get hurt again. They don't want to get hit again. But I mean, he had an incredible season, led the Bengals to their first playoff appearance in 31 years and to a Super Bowl berth at a young age behind a horrible O-line. I mean, he's just phenomenal. The mentality and the talent is unquestionable.
Yeah, that's very fair. Sam, were you team Joe Burrow, team Justin Herbert?
I was team Joe Burrow. Like CJ said, he played behind one of the worst offensive lines we've ever seen and still put up elite stats, went to the Super Bowl, almost won the Super Bowl, would have won the Super Bowl if he had a better offensive line. Maybe, I mean, I'm not going to, yeah, I'll just say it. It's a hot take.
That last play.
Maybe it's not a hot take. I'll just put it on record that I think they would have won the Super Bowl if he had a better offensive line.
I agree. Yeah,
I agree.
I think Justin Herbert. I think Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are good weapons, but I would lean the trio of Higgins, Chase, and Tyler Boyd. It's essentially a wash between Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler. Even though in the other podcast I did go Joe Mixon, but I think that was for fantasy purposes. So they are essentially very close. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch how dominating this Bengals team is now that they've added some competent offensive linemen to the team. And like I talked about, like I drafted Justin Herbert in our little draft we just did. And yeah, like I said, I think with another good year, he could definitely be put in that top 4, top 5 quarterbacks in the league. So I would give the edge to Joe Burrow. I love watching some of his highlights of his pocket presence in there and like avoiding sacks and everything. Like I've never been good at anything like Joe Burrow is at football. So just watching him play and watching him move around the pocket and avoid sacks, stuff that he's not even seeing, like is in his peripheral or behind him. It's insane.
Logan, are you also team Joe Burrow?
I mean, I hate to just agree. I love Justin Herbert, but like they just said, I mean, his offensive line was so bad, and he still went to the Super Bowl. And I could be wrong with the team, but I'm pretty sure Herbert couldn't even beat the Raiders just to make the playoffs. So I will definitely take Joe Burrow over him, despite how much I love Herbert. Obviously, that whole loss wasn't just on him. But with what Burrow did, with what he had, I mean, I know he had a good trio, but with that line, what he did was one of the more impressive things I can remember in football. I mean, there's not many other quarterbacks I think you could put behind that line and they would go to the Super Bowl. And he somehow found a way.
Like
Yeah.
Sam
And
said,
he definitely he definitely would beat the Raiders too. That's for sure.
like Sam said, it's one of the worst O-lines in recent history. And I have not looked at every Super Bowl in NFL history, but I would bet that it's probably the worst offensive line to make it to a Super Bowl in NFL history.
Yeah, I would
For the
put it up
Falcons.
there. I would put it up there with like when we saw Patrick Mahomes play against Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Like at that point, their offensive line was garbage because everybody was hurt.
Yeah,
This
I
like
didn't take that into account.
the Bengals line, like this is the line that pretty much they've been playing with the whole year. So
Yep.
this is the line that like gave Joe Burrow, however many sacks it was, 40, 50, I can't remember. But like for the entirety of the season, like I don't think we've seen that with that level of success in a very, very long time. Because typically, I mean, that's what wins you games is in the trenches or on the defensive side of the ball, and then obviously a top tier quarterback. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I was going to be alone on the Justin Herbert take, but I just think most of the reasoning is that success is hard to repeat in the NFL. And despite the improved offensive line, I don't think the Bengals make it back to the Super Bowl. And I think that the Chargers made a lot of additions as well to help improve the team. And I think that's like adding JC Jackson and Khalil Mack is going to make that defense insane. And I think that's just helping the team itself is going to help Herbert do even better. And he's already incredible. But I don't have too much to argue as far as the points you guys made. Joe Burrow is still going to be insane.
I do have a question of how much you think, because the Chargers are very known for, Brandon Staley's very known for going all out, going for it on fourth down a lot of the times, even in a lot of situations where other people might not. Some of the analytics might say, maybe not go for it, but they go for it a lot on fourth downs. Sometimes that leads to success, sometimes it doesn't. And then obviously that can play into your evaluation of what you think of Justin Herbert. Like if they make all those fourth downs, then he's a better quarterback in your eyes because he's doing so much, right? And then Joe Burrow doesn't get that opportunity because they don't go for it as much as on fourth down. Maybe this is a little bit of a long-winded question, but do you think that at all plays into what we think of the Chargers and Justin Herbert? Because there were several games like where they both stayed in the game because they went for it on fourth down, like the Chargers or like the Raiders game towards the end of the season. I think that was the last game of the season.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, where they went for it on fourth down, they kept making it, and that made it one of the best games of the year. There were also games that they kept going for it and they weren't making it, and that put them a little bit behind. So maybe if they don't do that as much, he wins more games. Maybe.
I mean, I think it just kind of evens out with like going for it every time, like the success rate. I don't know what their exact success rate was off the top of my head, but I think it probably just ends up evening out. I mean, obviously, if they just kind of pick it right and whether to go for it or not every time, and every time they go for it, they get it, then that helps. But I think unless it's a really dramatically good or bad success rate on that, I don't think it impacts how we view Herbert versus Burrow, unless there was a noticeable difference, in my opinion. But
I'm just trying to see if that plays a factor.
No, Sam, that is an excellent hypothetical.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So thank you for bringing that to the podcast. I don't. Do you guys? Okay, Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Logan, you can start us off for this one. Who do you got for next season?
Big Aaron Rodgers guy. I love Aaron Rodgers. You're talking real football, I assume, not
real football next season.
Real football next season. I think it's set up better for Brady. I mean, having Mike Evans, I don't think Godwin's going to be out that long. He's going to be out, but he'll still have Russell Gage and Julio. I know I said what I said about Russell Gage, but he'll be fine for a few weeks. And I think Julio has enough left in the tank for one more year. But for some reason, I still think Rodgers is going to have the better year. He's not going to win back-to-back, I guess, to back MVPs now. I don't think he's going to have his third straight MVP. But I think the Packers are going to be good. I think he's going to be good. And I think the Packers are going to go farther than the Bucs this year in the playoffs, for sure. That Bucs team is getting old quick.
It's fair. I guess
especially on defense too.
And especially on offense with the quarterback being the oldest in the NFL. True. Sam, what do you think?
Oh man. Gosh. I think I would have to lean Brady just because of the disparity in the offenses. Like Tom Brady, like you look at who they're throwing to. Tom Brady has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin when he comes back, Russell Gage, and now Julio Jones. Granted, Julio Jones is 33. How much does he actually play? I still think it's a great ad for them, veteran presence that can come in. like I said, I don't think he plays a lot, maybe anywhere from like 30 to 50 catches in the year. But I think behind the scenes, that'll do a lot more for them than on the field. And then you look at Aaron Rodgers, he's got Alan Lazard, Sammy Watkins, and then two rookie wide receivers, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. He has Robert Tonyan, and then he has Aaron Jones in the backfield, and along with my guy, AJ Dillon.
Let's go.
I think I don't have any questions of Aaron Rodgers' ability and the fact that he will be able to elevate at least one or two of those guys to some level of success that the team will be good enough to make the playoffs and make some kind of noise in the playoffs. But just looking at their situations, like it's very clear that Tom Brady is in a far better offensive situation than Aaron Rodgers. So for that reason, I would pick Tom Brady.
CJ, which one you are the tiebreaker for the first two?
I hate that this was posed as a question because I am also a big Aaron Rodgers guy. I would take Aaron Rodgers over Brady in most situations. However, as much as my heart leans Rodgers and I believe in his talent more, Sam's right about the situation. Devontae Adams is gone. Alan Lazard, I think, can work as a number one wide receiver, but he's not going to be stellar. And something that has not been mentioned yet that I think more people need to take into account is the fact that Christian Watson is on the PUP list. And Aaron Rodgers is very much a chemistry quarterback. If he doesn't trust you, if he doesn't develop chemistry with you, you're not going to get the targets. And even if Christian Watson only misses 1 to 2 weeks, which they haven't said what the injury is or how much time he'll miss in training camp, but even if it's only 1 to 2 weeks, those missed snaps as a rookie with Aaron Rodgers are going to hurt. Now, does Romeo Doubs step up and take that spot and fill in for Christian Watson? I don't know, but missing out on that second round wide receiver is going to be tough for that offense. Brady has a much better wide receiver core. Typically with coaching changes, if the system changes, then quarterbacks take a step back, but Tom Brady is the coach of that football team. There's not going to be any missed step with going from Bruce Arians to what's his face? I'm blanking on his name.
Isn't it Leftwich? Is it Leftwich?
Yes, Byron Leftwich. No step will be missed. And Chris Godwin, not on the PUP list, surprisingly. I think we all expected he would be, and he'd miss maybe a quarter up to half the season. The people are saying he may even be ready for a limited role in week 1, which is insane to me. So, I mean, I would love to say Rodgers in this situation, but I wouldn't be behind it. I have to say Brady.
Also, I have one thing I totally forgot to say for why I'm leaning towards Rodgers. It's not a big thing, but I think Aaron Jones is going to play so much slot. And I think that's going to help a lot. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Dillon has more carries throughout the year. I think Jones is going to be out wide a ton, which will definitely help him a little bit. I'm not saying that's like a massive point, but it'll help for sure. He's going to do a lot of that. Otherwise, I mean, they wouldn't have both of those running backs.
Yeah. I agree, Logan. When Devontae has been out over the last 4 or 5 seasons, Aaron Jones excels, especially in the receiving game. And I think they split him out. I think they throw him the ball a lot more, especially if he doesn't have that second option like Christian Watson available.
But I don't think that like he's still a running back. Like, I'm not gonna say like he's a good enough receiving threat to then all of a sudden turn that wide receiving core into something salvageable. I can admit, like, yes, we know Aaron Jones is a good receiver, especially for a running back. Sure, they can put him in a slot out wide wherever they want to, but teams typically don't do that more than maybe like 20 to 30%. Green Bay might be an outlier in this case, depending on how much they actually want to use them and how much they dislike their actual wide receivers. I don't know. I just think that point kind of gets like overblown. Yes, Aaron Jones will have probably better stats now that Devontae Adams is gone and they have almost nobody else to throw to. But I don't think it's enough of a talking point to make it to where, oh yeah, like we always forget about Aaron Jones as the receiver. Like they can just put him at a wide receiver position and it's like they're not really losing much. Like they're still losing a lot. Like you're putting a running back at your wide receiver spot because you have nobody else. Like that's not a good thing.
I completely agree, which is why I went Brady. I think he'll be split out more, and I think he'll get more catches, like Logan said. But I agree, it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
And you added the point about Christian Watson not getting the chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, and I think that just makes my 12th pick of Christian Watson in our fantasy rookie draft last week even worse. So thank you for that.
If I could just real quick, like I don't know how much of like for me personally, I don't think that news doesn't really scare me too much. One, because it's this early into training camp where guys come on and off the pup pretty frequently. Like Michael Thomas just like people start on the pup just because they've like this is now the beginning of camp, so you have to put them on the pup, and then we're a few days into training camp now, and so they come off the pup pretty much immediately. So like you talked about, we haven't heard what the injury is, the extent of how long he's going to be out, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm also not concerned about the chemistry because Aaron Rodgers is pretty notorious for not really putting a lot of trust in his rookies in the first place. So I don't think an extra week or two in OTAs and training camp is going to make that big difference to where Aaron Rodgers is going to go into the season and be like, okay, yeah, I can trust this guy. I can throw him the ball. Like I think it's going to take, if not the whole year, at least like half the year to where he can gain some kind of trust in him. Because we also saw a lot of red flags out of his game coming out of North Dakota State. So if those show up the same way they did in the FCS, it's going to be a really big problem for Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers to trust that he's going to come down with those deep balls.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. He doesn't typically trust rookie wide receivers, but he also hasn't had a situation where he needs to like this in a while. And I think, like you said, it takes him a while. I think that's why the 1 to 2 weeks, if he misses just 1 to 2 weeks, are even more important. Because if let's say Christian Watson comes out in training camp and doesn't have those issues that we saw last couple of years, and he does turn out to be a good receiver in the NFL, I would rather see that chemistry by week 4, week 5, week 6, rather than week 10, 11, 12. Not saying that's going to happen. It might take until his second or third year for Aaron Rodgers to really trust him. And that's, again, why I leaned Brady, because he really only has Allen Lazard to throw to right now. But someone else has got to catch the ball. And they picked him in the second round for a reason. He's going to be on the field if he's healthy. He needs to have those reps with Rodgers if he's going to trust him at all.
You can go ahead. I've already talked. You can go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just going to say, I personally think Packers are going to the Super Bowl. So that's also why I'm leaning Rodgers over Brady for sure.
They have a great defense.
I think that defense is unreal. I don't really think it's going to matter too much who he's throwing the football to until the playoffs. And Watson will be able to figure it out in 17 weeks for sure.
I'm a big Rodgers fan, and I hope you're right. I would love to see them make it all the way.
Yeah. CJ, you talked about them drafting Christian Watson in the second round for a reason. They also drafted Jordan Love pretty early. And for whatever reason that is. They also drafted AJ Dillon when they had Aaron Jones, a solidified running back at that time. So
hey, you're right. That worked out though.
I mean, for whatever price they want to pay for it, that worked out. He's a good player, but I would not I can agree with you. Like a team picks that player early enough because they believe in them, but that then translating onto the field doesn't happen like nearly often enough, especially when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. Over the past several years, I would definitely question a lot of their draft decisions. So I'm not like saying like, hey, that's a bad take, but them just saying like they drafted him in the second round for a reason. Like I think we say that a lot about all teams, like, hey, they drafted this guy for a reason, but like some teams you have to put it in perspective. Like some teams objectively don't know what they're doing, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. My big argument is just the need.
New York Jets.
Even though they made the mistake of drafting Jordan Love where they did, and even though AJ Dillon worked out, I don't know why they took him that high, but they need a receiver to step up this year. And I think they want it to be Christian Watson, but missing that training camp is going to be vital.
Yeah. So long answer short, it's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. I agree because for all the reasons you said, and I think that I don't know if I'd actually make this comparison, but it sounds like one I'd at least make in fantasy football. I just don't know if Alan Lazard's objectively better than Russell Gage. So I don't know.
He is.
I don't know. But I'm saying like the fact that it's like I'm making all you guys kind of think right now. Like I saw all your eyes look up and like think about it. Tom Brady also has 2 receivers that are better. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of the
Absolutely.
situation, like you said. But I don't want to spend too much time on that. I don't want to start making this like another 15-minute argument about Alan Lazard versus Russell Gage because nobody cares. So we'll just do the last bit, the one that I've been prepping the entire night for, mentally, not actually with notes and stats.
Good.
Of the 6 sophomore quarterbacks, which one are we taking for next season? That is Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, and Davis Mills.
Sorry, real quick. Can we say like who we want next season and if it differs from who we want like for the future?
We can do that. My answer is the same.
Oh, okay.
So
Dogs?
should we all spend the next 20 to 30 minutes talking about Zach Wilson so Noah doesn't get to?
So I'll go first for this one. I'm just kidding. Sure. So I guess kind of along with it, just go ahead and say who you take for next season and if it differs from your long term. Since I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it does, Sam, for you, go ahead and tell us who you'd want for next season and for the future.
So recapping the 6 sophomore quarterbacks, we have Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, right? Mac Jones, Davis the Neck Mills, and who is the 6th one that I'm missing? Justin Fields, right? Yeah. So among those, who would I rather have next season? It would probably have to be, it's in between Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. The only hang up for me is we haven't really seen much of Trey Lance. And at this point, like, I don't know, I'm kind of worried that the 49ers might have been wrong in their evaluation and that he's not actually that good. Maybe like he hasn't developed in the ways that they would have liked him to. But he's in a great situation. Kyle Shanahan's obviously a top tier coach. He's going to put him in every possible. He's going to give him every chance to succeed that he can. Can we move on to somebody else so I can have more time to think about this?
Yeah. I'm ready.
Go for it then.
So I actually will say for this year, Trey Lance. On the podcast a couple weeks ago, I talked about how I've been a big believer in Trey Lance. He was my QB2 coming out of that class, and the big question mark was why the heck do they still have Jimmy Garoppolo? Now that they're letting him go, because they held on to him so long, that's still a question mark. So there is a little bit of hesitation, but I'm sticking to my gut, and I believe in Trey Lance. I have this whole time. Once they let Jimmy G go, they use that money to then extend Debo. Trey Lance has all the weapons at his disposal that he could ask for, especially if Debo and George Kittle can stay healthy. And then Brandon Ayuk is a solid second receiver, giving him all that yak opportunity. In a Kyle Shanahan-led offense, I think Trey Lance has an opportunity to be great. Kyle Shanahan has been trying to get the mobile quarterback, the athletic quarterback, to run his offense. He tried it a little bit with Matt Ryan, and it worked great in 2016. But Matt Ryan wasn't as mobile as Kyle Shanahan wants. Trey Lance has the athleticism, and hopefully, like Sam said, we haven't seen it yet. Hopefully, the arm talent to hang around with some top NFL talent as well. He has the weapons. He has the coach. I think he can do it.
And does that defer for long term, or are you also rolling with Trey Lance long term?
So long term, I'm going to go with my QB1 of that class, which was not Trevor Lawrence. It was Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields' talent. I would have taken, if I were the Jaguars, I know Trevor Lawrence had an amazing season. I would have gone with my gut and I would have taken Justin Fields. His situation sucks. He's got no help on the Bears right now. Darnell Mooney is a good receiver, but I mean, it's like the Alan Lazard, Russell Gage argument. Is he great? Is he a great number one option? No. he'd be an okay number one option, but
he is nowhere near Alan Lazard. That is so disrespectful.
So much worse.
He's not Mike Evans, but he is not Alan Lazard.
You saying Darnell Mooney is not Alan Lazard?
Yeah.
I think he's more. Yeah, I think he's. I mean, I don't know. I disagree with you on that. I think Darnell Mooney is slept on.
Hey, Logan. Logan loves Darnell Mooney. You said he's nowhere near Alan Lazard. And
Alan Lazard
you say
sucks.
that when you say that somebody that's not as good as them, like they don't touch them.
Oh, you're saying he's better than that?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
far
you're
better.
good. He's saying.
To clarify,
I twisted his words.
To clarify, I was comparing the situations, but not the talent. I do think Darnell Mooney is the better of those three by a decent margin, but I still don't think that he is a solid, great number one option. I think that he needs someone else to help take some defensive pressure off. And if he can get paired, like if Allen Robinson was still hanging around and he could actually play, that would be great. But we saw that did not work out last year. I think once he gets some more talent around him, Justin Fields could be the best quarterback in that class.
Beautiful.
The head coach situation really didn't help either.
That's very true. I know Sam knows all about that as a huge Bears fan himself, with just stock and David Montgomery in a lot of fantasy leagues. Logan, we'll just go ahead and slide it over to you. So Sam has a few more minutes for notes. Who do you have for this season and beyond?
Yeah, I think both answers are pretty simple. I agree halfway with CJ. I think this year it's obviously Trey Lance. He has by far the best situation. I was also a big believer. I still believe in him. I was glad to hear maybe it was yesterday, the day before, but they finally said, like they told Jimmy G, he's done because he's again the bottom three quarterback in the league. So I'm happy for Trey Lance. I do believe in him, but he has Kittle. Debo's going to play. I also think Brandon Ayuk is still a stud. He had a rough first half, but a decent second half. And I mean, he's going into his third year. So it was a sophomore slump for sure. So I think Trey Lance is by far the right pick for next year, especially just with the defense, just as a team overall. I think he's going to be playing in the playoffs next year. So I think he's my answer there. And long term, it's probably basic, but I think it's far and away Trevor. I mean, he is so good. His situation just sucks. But I mean, he's probably the best college quarterback prospect I've ever seen, like in my lifetime so far. I don't know if that's hot take or anything. He's so good. I will never forget sitting in my college dorm, or not my dorm, I get college house, whatever, watching that game against Bama. And that defense was one of the best defenses I've seen in Bama. And they came back from the commercial break. The game was about to start. This dude's just standing in shotgun, picking his nose, couldn't care less, and beat Bama by like 35. He is just a winner. He's just in a horrible situation. But his talent is, I think he has the potential to be the best quarterback in the league if he was anywhere but Jacksonville. And I think long-term Jacksonville can figure it out, or he'll just play his rookie deal and get the heck out of there. But they're going to be pretty. He will be fine, but Jaguars will be pretty bad again this year, obviously. But those would definitely be my two answers. Trevor's is just a winner.
That's the issue with being a number one pick. Not every team can build the talent around you.
Yeah, except everybody was complaining when the Jets were about to get the number one pick, saying, oh, they don't deserve Trevor Lawrence. They literally questioned whether the NFL, like the worst team, should get the number one pick just because the Jets were about to get it and get Trevor Lawrence. Then they lost out on, he went to Jacksonville, who is obviously a worse situation. Like, I don't care how bad the Jacksonville is such a bad spot. And then they hired Urban Meyer and everybody's like, yeah, that's better than New York. Come on. Sam, just go ahead and tell me who you take.
See, the wounds are still open.
Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous, but.
All right. Having time to think about it. I will go with Zach Wilson for next year. This kind of ties into, I have in the past, I have picked the New York Jets to finish second in that division behind obviously the Buffalo Bills. So I would say I'm probably above consensus on how good the Jets are going to be. Obviously, like, if we're just looking at situation, like, obviously I would give it to the 49ers. Their offensive weapons are better than the Jets. Their offensive line is better than the Jets. I think the way the defense works right now, I would give the edge to the 49ers. But we also have to take into account, like, Robert Saleh is the Jets head coach. He came literally straight from Kyle Shanahan. So the Shanahan system is not that far removed from Zach Wilson. That's what they're trying to implement in New York. I think Zach Wilson right now is, from what we've seen on the NFL field, I would lean Zach Wilson as a talent over Trey Lance. I also talked about I have my own concerns with Trey Lance based on how the 49ers have treated the situation. So for next season, I'm going to go with Zach Wilson. For the future, I'm going to also go with Trevor Lawrence. Just looking at it in a vacuum of his talent, I think he is the most talented quarterback among these six. I think we very clearly saw that in college. The dude was absolute bonkers, like out of his mind. Like, he's obviously a winner. There's a reason why he went 101. And then looking at it as a bigger picture, the situation is god awful. I think it is getting better with them hiring Doug Peterson, but the team spending this much money this early on in this retooling is not a good sign. I think they wasted a lot of money that could also be be because of the Jaguars tax of having to pay players more to come to Jacksonville than they normally would to play somewhere else. It's just very difficult when your top wide receivers that are getting paid way too much money are Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and is Laviska Shenault, I guess, is their third best option. He's still on the rookie deal, so at least they have that. Their offensive line got a little bit better because they added Brandon Scherf, who they also paid too much money to. I think this is just leaning on Doug Peterson. I think that was a good bounce back hire for them. Hopefully that trends in the positive direction to where that now they make better draft decisions, free agency decisions, in season decisions, everything. I think I'm going to bet on Trevor Lawrence's talent that he will do enough to elevate the Jaguars to some level of success. And I think he will, for the rest of his career, honestly, I think he could outlast any of these guys, even in bad situations.
Yeah, the talent's definitely there, clearly, but I'm going to take the same guy for both. And it's going to be Zach Wilson. Quite obviously, I don't think anybody expected any different.
No bias.
I mean, it's definitely some bias, but I don't really care. I mean, Mac Jones, I don't think he's going to get that much better. I really don't. I don't think the Patriots are doing a ton to help him. And I think coming out of college, he was a high floor, low ceiling kind of guy where it was this dude could start / be a backup for at least 15 years. But I don't know if he's I don't think he's going to get that much better. I don't know how much more room there is for him to get better. I don't think anybody thinks Davis Mills is going to be the starter by next season, probably. Justin Fields, I think Chicago is an awful situation. And I feel like he's a very talented player that needed to go to a better spot for him to really thrive. And I'm just really concerned because I feel like people are going to end up saying he's a bust because he's just, I'm concerned about that situation for him. Trey Lance, I feel like is in a good situation, but like you guys kind of said, there's questions about his talent. I still think he can do it, but coming from an FCS school makes it a little bit more difficult. He was always going to be more of a long-term project. I wouldn't be shocked if eventually he's very good, but and then Trevor Lawrence, obviously atrocious situation. So that leaves me with Zach Wilson, who is, I still think, I don't know if he's probably a top 3 talent from this class, in my opinion. I guess top 2 to the Jets, according to them. So I think that helps him. And then I think that he showed improvement towards the end of last season. After being really turnover heavy early in the season, he went the last 5 games without throwing a pick. Now the production wasn't actually there, but he actually kind of learned hey, this isn't BYU competition. This is the NFL. You can't just toss the ball down the field and expect things to happen just because you're playing against bums. So he learned a little bit, showed growth there. The Jets improved a lot around him. When Michael Carter was hurt last season, they had Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson at running back. They drafted Breece Hall. There was games that Elijah Moore and Corey Davis were injured last season, as well as Denzel Mims just dealing with stuff all season. That Braxton Berrios was like the only receiver out there. So they drafted Garrett Wilson. The 49ers offense relies a lot on tight ends, and their tight end one last season was Tyler Kroft and I guess Ryan Griffin also. So they went out and added 3 tight ends in Tyler Conklin, CJ Uzma, and Jeremy Ruckert. They drafted him. They added 2 offensive linemen, they got Mekhi Becton back. And he looks very good so far. So hopefully he can stay healthy. Added Laken Tomlinson. So the offensive line's much improved. I think Zach Wilson, they did everything they could to help him and still were able to add to the defense. They'll get Carl Lawson for the first time after he signed a big deal and then missed all last season. Sauce Gardner, they drafted him. Another year with the same offense, which is finally the Jets aren't just intentionally screwing up a new quarterback. Like they got Sam Darnold and then brought in Adam Gase for year 2 after he learned a whole NFL offense, had to play with Adam Gase. So the Jets are showing that they're a more competent NFL team. I will say that we feel like a competent NFL team, which is probably the first time in 5 years that I can really say that. So that feels really good. And I think that, Logan said that Trey Lance is going to be in the playoffs this season. I still think there's a good chance of that, but I think that among these quarterbacks, Zach Wilson has the best chance, probably aside from Trey Lance, because of the 49ers' success as a team already. The Jets are coming from being atrocious. So it's a little bit more of an uphill climb, though the 49ers do have a tougher division. So Zach Wilson has a very good chance to at least coming close, potentially making the playoffs this season, whereas I don't think the rest of the quarterbacks do. I think the Patriots got significantly worse, so Mac Jones doesn't make it back this season.
So let me ask the group this. If the 49ers would have taken Justin Fields over Trey Lance, does that change anybody's answers?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd put him at number 2, but that, again, I will acknowledge my bias, but yes.
If the situation is handled the same, I still would be hesitant.
Assuming it's not handled the same because Justin Fields is a better talent and the 49ers aren't worrying about Trey Lance.
But now knowing that in hindsight, if having not known that, and having the same path gone down, Justin Fields sits and then they're still waffling between, are they going to trade Jimmy G or are they going to start Justin Fields in this case? There would still be a lot of questions for me of if he's good enough, why not play him? Because you traded 2 or 3 firsts for him.
See, I think it's all smoke. I don't think they're that worried about him. I mean, I saw videos of some of the wide receivers not warming up, just practicing with Trey Lance months ago. I haven't seen anything from Jimmy G. I just think it's all smoke. I think Kyle Shanahan's smart. I think obviously he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's an NFL head coach, but I think it's all smoke. I don't think they're worried literally at all about Trey Lance. You're talking to somebody who can't stand Jimmy G, but I mean, literally months ago, as soon as the season finished, it looked like everybody was just practicing with Trey Lance all off season. I just think it's all smoke, and I think they're trying to get a good trade return for Jimmy G, and it just didn't work out because everybody knows if he could throw a football more than 30 yards, he'd probably have 2 rings. He just can't.
There was also a lot of smoke around their draft pick itself. A lot of people thought that they were going to go Mac Jones for some reason, and they went Trey Lance. So maybe you're right, Logan. Maybe they're just kind of playing their cards close to the vest.
If I could jump in, I have a talking point and one question to ask you guys. So the talking point is I think it's interesting to look at the Bears situation of what they're putting together. Obviously, they got rid of their head coach from Matt Nagy, who that was a failed experiment, and now they're on to who's their new head coach? I can't remember his name. But anyway, they've moved on from Matt Nagy. Ryan Pace is the new GM in there, and they have among their wide receiver core, they have 2 in the top 6 in terms of run blocking grades graded by PFF. So I think that is I think it's interesting to note that those 2 players being Byron Pringle and N'Keal Harry, who they just traded for. Like loosely how CJ mentioned, like teams do things for a reason. I think they made that trade for a reason. It could be their reason for being that he's a good run blocker. Maybe they want to. Maybe that's what they want to turn the offense into, is just running the football, not really giving the wide receivers a lot of opportunity to make mistakes, because this is not the most talented wide receiving group. I also like what they did on the defensive side of the ball in the draft, getting Kyler Gordon with their first pick and Jaquan Brisker with the second pick. I think the secondary was needing some rejuvenation. So I think it could be interesting with how they're building their defense before they start building their offense. And I think it could lead to the narrative, like it already has, of they don't care about Justin Fields, when I think it could be like they just care about the football team more than they care about making Justin Fields look good. I don't know which is the right answer or not, but anyway, that was my talking point. The question that I had was, among the five taking out Davis Mills because we know he's not going to last. Among the five, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, who do you think is out of the league first?
Mac Jones, and it's probably in like a year or two.
Do we think everybody lasts? Like, I think they'll last their rookie contract. Does anybody think like second contracts? Like, how do people think?
I think
I don't
most
think-
everyone. I think most everyone on that list gets a second contract. I'm going to agree with Logan in saying that Mac Jones might be the one that doesn't get a second contract, but I don't think he's out of there in a year. I think that they stick with him until there's a clear, better option, or until they move out on from him before a second contract.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get a second contract at all.
I mean, it kind of depends. Like when you say out of the league, like I think Mac Jones is a 15-year backup at some point. Like I think the dude plays for
So
forever.
we'll say as a
But
starting quarterback.
As a starting quarterback, I think it's between Mac Jones and Justin Fields, and it's mostly just because of Justin Fields' situation. But somebody else may bank on his talent, like for some ungodly reason the Panthers did with Sam Darnold. So I'm going to go with Mac Jones as well. And
Do you think-
hopefully,
Look at what happened to Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill got away from Adam Gase, and he became a legitimate quarterback.
If Sam Darnold got away from Adam Gase and still sucks.
Well, Justin Fields, I think, is a lot more talented than Sam Darnold. And I think if he gets out of that situation, eventually, if that happens, I mean, I think he goes the same route similar to Ryan Tannehill, where he has a lot more success elsewhere.
I know it's still early in Justin Fields' development, only being in the league for 1 year, and I know there's some bias among the panel, but on the spectrum of Mitch Trubisky, Marcus Mariota being one end, and Justin Herbert, like a Lamar Jackson level on the other end, where do you think Justin Fields falls? Do you think he's more on the back end or more towards the top end?
Top
so
50%.
far on the top end. Like Fields is good, like nowhere near the other guy. Like he'll win. He'll be in multiple Pro Bowls, I think. Not
If the
next year or the
situation
year after.
If the situation improves, or if he gets into on a different team eventually, I think so.
Yeah, in a vacuum, he's closer to Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, but I don't know. Chicago just makes me so nervous. Like
he doesn't have to play there, but 3 more years, and he can get that. Like same with Trevor, they can leave immediately.
I think that unless like I just find it hard for quarterbacks to get onto new teams.
Yeah,
like it's just
fair.
I feel like if it was the NBA, it's like sure, like just kind of play a few years of good basketball and then demand a trade and you'll get what you want. But like I feel like NFL teams keep especially their quarterbacks. Like if they're good, they're keeping them. If they're not good, they're not going to keep them. So I mean, Russell Wilson, he's in his 30s and he just was able to finally get out. Not saying he's been trying to for years, but I think that if Justin Fields is either going to be good and playing in Chicago or he's going to be bad and playing elsewhere.
Yeah.
Which could, like you said, with Tannehill, revitalize his career. But
one last thing, and I don't know how this is getting a little bit of a longer podcast, but I do think this is an interesting topic of we know Kyler Murray just got his extension. Let me check how big it was.
I think it was 230 million.
160.
It was how long?
Maybe 160 guaranteed.
How many years? 5 years, 230, 160 guaranteed. There was also the amendment in there that he had to have 4 hours every day of dedicated.
Wasn't
On
it
the
week?
parentally controlled iPad.
Was it a week?
4
Or was
hours
it
a week.
daily?
Yeah, 4 hours
Okay.
a
4
week.
hours a week. Okay, yeah. But I think the interesting topic here is how this affects the Lamar Jackson contract, because obviously they're both very mobile quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson has carried the team to playoff success more oftentimes than not. The team obviously has built the entire offense around Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson right now is operating as his own agent. Like, he doesn't have an agent, so he's doing all of this negotiating himself. Obviously, that means what?
I was going to say he's not even really doing any negotiating right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, the team is going to take advantage of that because he doesn't have that negotiating experience. I'm just very interested at this point because is he on the last?
This is the last year.
This is the last, and the last tag they've used on him, like everything.
I don't think they've used a tag
They've not
yet,
used a tag.
but I think he said like, "Oh, I'll play on a franchise tag."
Yeah,
he said.
But I think still, like, it's going to be interesting if they give him a contract, because we haven't really seen, outside of Michael Vick, that mobility as a franchise quarterback. And even Michael Vick was different in that Lamar Jackson rushed for over 1,000 yards. Almost like 2/3 of that was designed rushes. Mike Vick did that rush for over 1,000 yards on scrambles and going out of the pocket and creating for his own. Like, they play similarly, but their stats come in different ways. I think a lot of people don't really see that. So it's very interesting to see like how the NFL is going and how the Ravens are building their offense. It's obviously different than a lot of other teams that are doing it. And then on top of having to pay Lamar Jackson, seeing what Kyler Murray just got, other quarterbacks just got as well, like, are they going to want to invest that much money into that mobile of a quarterback, where I think we're going to start to see in the next coming seasons that 2/3 of those rushing attempts coming from design rushes is going to come down slowly, and like eventually, like, he has to learn to just be a more pocket passer, like not take as much risk. I don't think that's really in his game though. Like, he is an athlete. So is that something that they want to tie their franchise to for an extended amount of time? I'm interested in what you guys think.
I think that when you're an NFL franchise and you have a talent like Lamar Jackson, you're going to ultimately do pretty much whatever it takes to keep that talent. I think that injuries and workload as far as rushes is mostly a talking point. Now, it is a real concern, but when it comes to putting pen to paper, I think that they pay Lamar Jackson pretty much what he wants, in line with other top talents, what they're getting paid, to just stay on the team. I don't think you let Lamar Jackson walk unless he's asking for a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's no way you let him walk. Absolutely no way. I mean, you started talking about Kyler. I mean, I personally would take Kyler over Lamar, but I would never let Lamar walk. There's no way. I don't know if you pay him whatever he wants, but I don't think he's going to ask for anything super unreasonable. So I definitely think they'll sign it. It might take, to the last minute, but they'll get it done.
I think his contract will fall somewhere between Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray. I don't think he'll be 100% fully guaranteed, but he'll be up there as far as total value goes.
I was going to say the Deshaun contract is probably more worrisome to the Ravens. I think probably a lot of teams around the league that have to pay a quarterback are probably like, why did you guys have to fully guarantee that entire contract to a guy? I think at the time he signed it, there was like there was still a chance the dude was gonna, like, I don't think the court case was done. I think there was a chance he was going to prison when they gave him a 5-year, $230 million guaranteed contract. So
there were more suits filed after he signed the contract.
Exactly.
Actually.
It's like they said they do. Anyways, we don't have to get into that, but I think Lamar Jackson, like CJ said, probably falls somewhere in between. I'm sure that as much as he'd love a fully guaranteed contract, with the amount that he runs and like risks his body, like they probably can't guarantee every last dollar, because I mean, he's held up fairly well so far considering the amount of hits he takes, but I think that they just won't be able to guarantee everything. But I think it's going to be a lucrative amount. And this dude's just so good. You got to pay him. Yeah. Like, you can't not. I know, like, there's so many people that just hate on Lamar Jackson. Like there was the anonymous defensive coordinator who said, I don't care if he wins 12 MVPs, he'll never be a QB1. It's like 12 MVPs would make him the greatest NFL player of all time. What do you mean you wouldn't take? Like, I get like he's not like your traditional step back and like throw it from the pocket. Like his game is obviously being able to move and scramble, but if he's that dominant, come on, man. Like it doesn't have to be a traditional, like just comparing it to basketball, like when point guards used to just average like 10, 11 assists, like Chris Paul's seen as the great, like a really great traditional point guard, but like Steph Curry's not seen as that. So it's like, is Steph Curry not as good because he doesn't average double digit assists, or does he just kind of change the position to fit his game? I think Lamar is kind of doing that. Like the dude is probably at least a top 8 quarterback in the league. I would have to like sit down and actually make a list, but he's coming off an MVP just a couple seasons ago. So like the dude's going to get paid.
And I think he can leverage that into more guaranteed money than Kyler got. I think the salary will be around the same. Maybe he can squeeze out an extra 5 or 10 million on the contract in total, but maybe we see about 170, 180 guaranteed, a little more than Kyler, but no way we see the whole thing, I don't think.
Yeah, I just think it's really interesting because like, I mean, like we talked about, like we haven't really seen a quarterback like Lamar Jackson since like Mike Vick, like I talked about. And like, I think the Ravens are one of the smarter teams in the NFL, and the NFL is still a business. Like if you're going to give a player that much money, like you are tying your franchise to that player. So that player then ideally is the best of ability is availability. So you're hoping that that player plays every single game for you, every snap. And, you know, that's not a huge L for you when you give that player that contract. And then all of a sudden, the way like his play style, he gets injured, and or maybe he's not the most like accurate quarterback, to where that can cause some faults. Like I think it could fall in the same way that the Dak Prescott contract played out, to where the Ravens are going to tag him once, if not twice, because they have all the incentive. They have no incentive to give him a contract as early as he wants. Whether he wants a contract right now or not, like I'm not going to say like I'm not Lamar Jackson. So, but they have no reason to give him a contract up until like the very last minute, when they know for sure like this is what we want to invest in. And of any team in the NFL, like right now, I would think the Ravens would give him a contract over anybody else, because they've taken this route. They've gone with the experiment of having this super mobile quarterback, and they've had success with him, and they've built the offense around him to where at this point, like if you're moving on from him, you need to totally revamp the system. Like everything needs to change. So I just think it's a very interesting topic, to where, you know, like, yes, we all know Lamar Jackson is a top tier talent. He's one of the best athletes in the NFL. How much data is there to show us that that kind of play style has led to long-term longevity in your career? And how successful are those NFL teams, you know, to where it's now worth it to give a player like Lamar Jackson this much money, this much guaranteed money, and for this amount of time. So I don't know. I just think it's a very interesting topic.
Well, to play devil's advocate, how much data is there to even compare his play style to? I mean, there have been plenty of mobile quarterbacks, but I mean, your comparison is Mike Vick, and that's it.
Yeah, no, and like that again, that kind of goes to the point of like you don't know how this could play out. Like this could play out totally like everybody in the NFL gets hurt. For like 99% of the players get hurt, and the more you have the more you hold on to the football, the more likely you are to get hurt. So if you're the quarterback, you're getting the ball on every play, which means you're more likely to get hurt than everybody else. And on top of being that mobile, you're going to get hit more often. So I'm not saying he's injury prone or anything like that. I'm not saying like he will get injured, but like these are discussions that are being held in front offices, especially in the Ravens front office, where they're deciding like, do we give this guy all this money and we don't know anything about how this situation plays out? Like this is an outlier to us. I think they've done well so far. I don't think it would be to me, I don't think it would be the biggest surprise to have him play out his rookie contract, tag him once, if not twice. And I mean, if it hasn't led to like an AFC championship or a Super Bowl, like maybe they move on because maybe they don't want to make that investment.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see over the next few seasons how that kind of plays out as Lamar maybe kind of sort of starts negotiating for his big deal as a quarterback. But that's going to do it for episode 9 of the Hypothetically Speaking podcast. Thank you all for listening. And fellows, thank you all for joining me.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.